I'm John Meacham. Welcome to Fate of Fact, Season 1. This series is about how and why fact became a casualty of war in the United States. Please listen and follow Fate of Fact, a presentation of Shining City Audio, a John Meacham and C13 original studio. Available now for free on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Radio 610 presents Clint Sterner and the show with the biggest stories of the day. It's the Big 3 at 3, number 1.
All right, the big story that dropped about 11:30 or so today, the SI investigation piece on Deshaun Watson's interaction with massage therapists, and it uncovered some new information that we didn't know. Some of the stuff we did know, Clint, but
a lot of the stuff we knew.
A lot of the stuff
a
we
ton
knew.
of it.
But there were a few new nuggets, and I guess the biggest thing that jumped out to us was putting together timelines, and the timeline that kind of flushes the narrative of some sort of involvement of the Texans, some conspiracy of the Texans to try to make Deshaun Watson look bad.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think there's a group of people in Houston, a certain part of the fan base that believes that there could potentially have been some kind of conspiracy theory with the Texans in a sense of, well, Deshaun Watson wants out, he wants to be traded. We'll watch this, I think I think it's silly, right? I mean, I don't think there was any way that was a real possibility from the jump, right? But when you consistently hear it, which we did, we heard it. We heard it from callers on the text line, social media. So it clearly was something that was being discussed in Houston. And then in today's article, when they address it, they actually mention that the conspiracy theory aspect was actually being discussed in some NFL circles. So it wasn't just a problem in Houston or just a topic in Houston, but it was a topic in some NFL circles across the landscape of the NFL. So it's real, right? And I think the SI article, I don't know if they did it on purpose. I don't know if they did it by design, but they damn sure gave a timeline where Ashley Solis, who was the first plaintiff to file a lawsuit on Deshaun Watson, her communication via email, so they're all time-stamped, was taking place. Her communication with Tony Busby's office was taking place prior to Week 16 of this past year's NFL season, which was before Deshaun Watson ever announced he wanted out, which was before anything ever popped between Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. So anybody that thought, well, Cal McNair, knows Tony Busby and this is some kind of coup, this is some kind of conspiracy theory. It ain't, ladies and gentlemen. It clearly is
the
not.
time just doesn't work.
But it don't.
It just doesn't.
Yeah, as silly as it once was, it's just.
It's now it's not
damn
just,
near impossible.
Right, it's not just us saying it's silly now.
Right.
Like,
there's a timestamp or an email that
like,
just makes the timeline not add up.
No, I mean just flat out, and so there's no argument. The thought of, because that's something we heard. Oh, you think this smells like a Jack Easterby situation, and at the time, we thought it was hard not to think, boy, Jack Easterby's involved in anything. Even that was outlandish to me, and still is. And right there's nothing that helped the Texans in that situation at all. And now we can clearly see that needs to be flushed away. I know it completely won't. I've already seen it on the text line. I'm not even going to look at it right now. That we're naive or whatever. But it just did. She was talking to Tony Busby and his representation well before Deshaun Watson had any issues with the Texans.
Right.
I mean, any issues in terms of saying I want out. So to think, to counter that, we're gonna put this story out there. No.
Well, there's just no, at this point, I've seen enough. I mean, there's no explanation needed.
Why the Texans or Cal McNair were even put themselves in that position to potentially have be caught with that. How is that even worth it?
It doesn't make sense, but it was out there, and I thought it was a big time nugget. We thought it was a big time nugget that stuck out in that Sports Illustrated article. Either way,
Big 3 at 3, number 2.
How about them first place Astros?
How about them, baby?
The
How about
Astros pound the A's 8-4 yesterday. They take over first place. They are now 8 games over 500, 26-18. Houston, Clint, and Tyler are averaging 5.4 runs per game, which is the best in Major League Baseball. They're 11-3 in their last 14 games, and they're averaging 6.6 runs per game in that span. We said it at the beginning of the season. What's going to be the strong point and the carrying point of this team is going to be that lineup and those bats, even without George Springer. And I'll be damned, are they better? I mean, that's a serious conversation piece to have. Are they better than what those lineups were? Because, as we see, they're leading the league in runs.
Well, you got 5 hitters hitting over 300, which is big time, and you got Carlos Correa and Kyle Tucker coming, right? I mean, you got those 2 guys that are swinging the stick a lot better right now than they were a week ago. So they're clearly coming, and the potential of this lineup is. I mean, there's no top on it. There's no lid on it. I mean, these guys are lighting it up as we speak, and it could get significantly better the more Carlos Correa comes around and Kyle Tucker comes around. I tell you the other part of this show, obviously the pitching. The pitching has been – the starting pitching has been really, really, really good as of late, several series. But I tell you, they have positioned themselves – quite nicely. I mean, they're playing great baseball, don't get me wrong, but they take a half-game lead on the division. They crank up a series tonight against the Rangers, who they already swept in a 4-game series a week ago.
And they're struggling.
And so they've got a chance to not only keep the lead, but maybe stretch out the lead a little bit in the division and then be hotter than a firecracker come L.A. Dodger time, baby.
That's a great – that's coming up on the 20th Tuesday coming up.
Yes, sir.
That's a great point. Tyler said in my ear. The Rangers – it's May 21st. The Rangers have been no-hit twice this year.
Yeah.
They've been no – we haven't even
it's
June
not good.
1st. Memorial Day, they've been no-hit twice this year. Struggling in a big way. I got to give a shout-out as we were talking about things. They're starting pitching – From Christian Javier, Zach Greinke was amazing, and even to Garcia yesterday. I'm not sure you could ask for more from those 3 guys starting in this big of a series. Just more than keeping you in games, right? Zach Greinke was the best player on the field the other night, and Christian Javier gave you a quality start and a chance. And Garcia, who's maybe your 7th starter, your 8th starter, for him to come in 5 innings, less than 3 runs. I mean, you couldn't ask for more. Now your guy Ryan Stanek is starting to make me a little nervous now. These are 3 straight outings. He comes out and kicks it off with a hit by pitch and a walk, just as you talked about his control. But outside of him, that started. You couldn't ask for 3 better results from those guys coming in this big a series.
Yeah, no, ain't no doubt about it. And getting these guys all the rest that you can for the Dodgers series, obviously coming up, is going to be big, right? Tyler Ivey going tonight in Game 1 versus the Rangers.
He'll probably no hit him.
Who knows? It's worth getting a look at the young fella. Let's get a look at the young fella versus
put
the
him
Rangers.
up against the Rangers.
You know what? Show the back to the hitting. This is. The numbers that these guys are putting up right now, nobody's talking about this, but the numbers that they're putting up right now makes it awfully difficult on all those folks that want to get stuck on that what happened in 2017, the sign stealing scandal, and say these guys were only that good because they were stealing signs. These numbers they're putting up right now are silencing that damn crew for sure.
Even the guys that were supposedly involved in it, that people are saying that were there during it.
Yeah.
Altuve,
Bregman,
and Correa. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
But what are they going to say now?
They're going to say nothing. Let's go ahead and knock out and win another series. That's what they've been doing. Win another series against the Rangers And then next Tuesday, the first chance that the juice box can be sold out completely at full capacity, 43,000, 41,000 plus against the Dodgers. Come back, winning another series, and that's going to be fun.
Cheating or no cheating, we're going to tap that ass.
That's right.
Big 3 at 3. Number 3.
All right, another favorite for Houston, Clint. DeAndre Hopkins, all-pro receiver, former Houston Texan with the Arizona Cardinals. He took to the Twitter, and he said,
Twitter machine?
Somebody at the gym just asked me, would I restructure my contract for Julio Jones? And he gives the Doogie Howser 2 thumbs up. Julio Jones, he's going somewhere. He is not going to be in Atlanta. They've got to find a way to get their cap situation together, and he seems to be the viable reason. It feels like he's going to be going. We talked about him with the Colts or the Titans in the division. DeAndre Hopkins, if they gave Kyler Murray, Julio Jones, and DeAndre with the Christian Kirk kid, Larry Fitzgerald,
they got another one. There's somebody else they have. Who else they have?
You're right. Who is that? Let me look.
They drafted one this year. Arizona did. They had the little white kid that could run, Andy Isabel or whatever.
Good call.
But they got somebody else. They got another one this year. Hey, there's a Google machine right behind you, bub.
I'm trying.
No, Tyler's in there thinking too hard. His damn smoke coming out of his ears.
He's passing gas and.
Yeah, look, that's the thing that makes.
Oh, they got AJ Green.
There you go.
Right.
There you go. I knew they had another really good. The thing that makes the DeAndre Hopkins not in Houston anymore, other than just he's a phenomenal player. I mean, obviously he helped you win games, but this is the kind of stuff that makes you sick. Is that
now he's talking about restructuring?
Well, no. Ultimately, I firmly believe it. I think this, like Bill O'Brien making an ass out of all the rookies. I think Bill O'Brien did a good job of making an ass out of DeAndre Hopkins throughout this process. Now, kind of, discreetly doing it, but I think he did. I think DeAndre Hopkins legitimately is a team first dude. Like I think DeAndre Hopkins is a dude's like. Yeah, you need me to give up a couple mil or spread it out over a couple of years after I'm done to go get another great player to help us win? Yeah, I got you. I do. He strikes me as a guy, and I've heard a lot of stories like that, but he strikes me as a guy that would be the ultimate team player like that. Like we've seen Brady do, take a sub Brady deal to surround yourself with great talent.
Real quick, if he's serious and you're Arizona, would you look into that?
If I can afford it, hell yeah.
AJ Green. I mean, you got AJ, you got Larry, you got Hopkins, and Julio.
You're getting up there in age on some of them cats. You may
I'm just saying, man. If you can make Julio happen, there's got to be a corner somewhere that maybe you should try. I've tried to make Bradley Roby happen. If I can do that, because they need a corner more than they need another.
Not Kingsbury. Kingsbury ain't never needed a corner over another receiver. Could you imagine? You could line up Hop. You could line up AJ Green, Larry Fitzgerald, and Julio Jones. That'd
Christian
be your
Kirk
four
off the
wideouts.
bench. I mean, come on, man. Andy Isabella trading. I mean, come on.
I'd be here for it. You're older than hell, but I'd be here for it.
I'd watch the fun. All right, Tony Busby, the attorney for the 22 plaintiffs, had a comment last week that many people kind of scoffed at. Well, maybe he is vindicated by what came out in this article. We'll discuss that.
I'm John Meacham. Welcome to Fate of Fact, Season 1. This series is about how and why fact became a casualty of war in the United States. Please listen and follow Fate of Fact, a presentation of Shining City Audio, a John Meacham and C13 original studio. Available now for free on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Radio 610 presents Clint Sterner and the Show.
Clint, I know you and Cecil were here last week, and when you heard this comment, this quote from Tony Busby, the attorney for the 22 plaintiffs filing lawsuits against Deshaun Watson, when you heard this, I know you and Cecil were a bit caught off guard from this. This was Tony Busby last week. Contrary to what Mr. Rusty Harden, the attorney for Deshaun Watson, says, We haven't approached them to settle, ever. When they approached us, they insisted we signed this. We obviously didn't reach out to them. They begged us via the Texans to mediate. We hold the cards. The truth sometimes or most of the time hurts. We approach them, my ass. That was Tony Busby, and in a way saying, and in a weird way throwing that out, begged us via the Texans to mediate. I know that was something that jumped out to the both of you, and like the Texans involved in this?
Yeah, when the two attorneys started sparring last week at late Thursday and Friday, there's no doubt. You get a statement or you get a report, you read through it real quick, what stands out, boom, you tell the people about it. There's no question about it. When Cecil and I both read that statement, what jumped out immediately was the Texans somehow being involved in this. And immediately, in fact, we had John McClain on, I believe, right after it happened, and he agreed that there was no way in hell that the Texans were touching this situation with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, so it jumped off the screen, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and so yeah, I would have been here. If I were here Friday, I would have been saying the same thing.
Right.
Then in this SI article, it now makes you wonder about that, because in the SI article, there was a part about it with Cal McNair, the owner of the Texans. About 2 weeks after the first suits against Watson were filed, a lawyer who said he was representing Texans owner Cal McNair did approach both attorneys seeking to broker a mediation. A statement from the Texans organization emailed by a team spokesperson says Mr. McNair was aware that his personal attorney contacted both parties to suggest mediation. Mr. McNair has no personal involvement in any of those discussions. The Houston Texans organization has not had any direct contact with either party. One could wonder, okay, why the owner's representation is talking about mediation. It makes you kind of wonder how maybe Tony Busby had a point to what he was saying about the Texans mediating.
Well, the way that Tony can take things and spin it into his favor, I don't know what to make. It's vague on both ends, in my opinion, the way that I read it. But look, I'll be completely honest. The SI article today, it brings something to light that I didn't think was something that happened. I would have bet a large sum of money that Cal McNair would have had his attorney steer clear of the situation with Deshaun Watson and the 22 plaintiffs. Now, I think the timeline does matter here. This was 2 weeks after the first lawsuit dropped, which I know there were multiple lawsuits at that point in time out there. But I got to believe at this point that the Texans were still
early. This is mid-March.
Yeah, well, this was before the press conferences and before the endorsement deals were dropped. And
March 15th, 16th.
This was early on, and this was early on, I think, when there was probably hopes that the Texans could salvage a relationship with Deshaun Watson, and had no idea how bad these civil lawsuits were going to turn out. So, but regardless of those details, I'm still surprised in a big way that that an attorney that's closely associated with Cal McNair is indeed the attorney that reached out seeking mediation, reached out to both Deshaun Watson and the 22 plaintiffs, reached out to their attorneys. I'm surprised by that nugget, no question.
I am shocked by that. That now does not necessarily mean that we're not going to put words in any mouth that Cal McNair sent him to do that. I just would have never thought that even anybody of his representation would even be.
It's awfully coincidental if it wasn't.
Because to me, what I think most people would look out of that to see that Cal McNair's lawyer went out to talk to them about mediation.
And Cal McNair knew about it.
And Cal McNair, as it states, knew about it, would make me believe that Cal McNair has something in the game for a resolution of a settlement or something to occur. That's what it would make me think. And
he definitely has something in the game.
He does, but I sure as hell wouldn't. But I sure as hell wouldn't think he would involve himself.
I'm surprised
for that.
Yes, I agree. I am surprised that he would touch it with a 10-foot pole at any point in time, even though this was early on in the process. I'm surprised that his attorney is the one attorney of all the attorneys out there that could have reached out and tried to help mediate or try to get to a point where mediation was possible. I'm surprised that it was Cal McNair's attorney. I'm surprised that Cal McNair knew about it and didn't shoot it down. But nonetheless, these are the kind of things that, boy, when Sports Illustrated starts doing their digging and investigating and talking to individuals around the Deshaun Watson, the Houston Texans, and the NFL situation that they're all in right now, you're going to get some nuggets, and that's definitely one of them.
All right, Clint Sterner in the show here with you on Houston Sports Leader Sports Radio 610. Don't you dare touch it. Don't you dare touch it. The Texans did make a move off the field. They have brought in, claimed off waivers, Jerron Christian, tackle. He was with the Washington football team. College, he went to Louisville. He's been in the league a couple years. Former third-round pick in 2018. 6'5" plus, 300 pounds. And they bring another offensive tackle into the fold. I would guess this feels like camp body.
But man, former third-round pick 2 years ago.
I
mean, that 3 years ago, 3 drafts ago, I guess, or would that be 2? Yeah, because we just had the 2020 draft. No, that was the 2021 draft.
Yeah,
right. So it's 3 years ago, a third-round pick. Yeah, I mean, unless Bill O'Brien was picking, and that's a Martinez Rankin type of player, then I would imagine that there's a good chance that the dude's at least talented and at least has some tangibles that you can work with. I look at it like, damn, how many tackles are they going to sign? I mean, clearly this has got to be one of those situations where it's another guy that could potentially swing down and play guard, because we all know how rough the guard situation has been in the past for the Houston Texans. I don't know if this is a guy that could bump down to the interior or not, but I mean, they're running out of guys that are just tackles, right? You got Charlie Heck, who he ain't bumping down at no guard. You got Laramie Tunsil, who clearly ain't bumping down at no guard. You got Roderick Johnson, he ain't bumping down at guard.
And Washington had a pretty good O-line. He started the first 6 games before suffering a knee injury in week 6. And
how about that? Another guy, for one reason or another, he's available.
Yeah, he suffered a knee injury in week 6 and then missed the next 3 games before being placed on IR, which ended his season, and then they released him. But
right. Wow. Well, one more.
Maybe this isn't just a camp body. I mean, they're good. He's serious about this damn competition thing.
There ain't no doubt Nick Caserio's going to create competition at that damn O-line spot.
You're right.
That's
third-round pick, 2018.
3 years ago, third-round pick?
Started 6 games for Washington last year.
Yeah, I mean, look.
He was named the starting left tackle to replace Trent Williams.
Yeah,
there's
a good chance my man's awfully talented.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's when I first saw it, I'm thinking, okay, camp body, pass through, but starting left tackle for a team that ultimately made the playoffs, and the only reason why it was out. Yeah. I almost said something. I think I almost said something beating there. All right, that's the latest. The Texans acquire another tackle. All right, maybe the biggest thing that jumped out of this SI article, something that we can flush to bed. Hopefully you will actually do it. We'll discuss that coming up next.
Sports Radio 610 presents Clint Sterner and the Show.
All right, of everything that happened, if you missed it, that SI article was released today, shedding more light on and giving us some new things that we may not have not known about before in this article about the Deshaun Watson situation. But maybe the number one thing that I think light was shed on that could be flushed is something, Clint, that's been talked about a lot, and that is, I wonder, are the Texans involved? Are the Texans behind this? Are the Texans behind all of this? The timing is really weird about everything happening with Deshaun Watson. Just as he says he wants out and wants to be traded, this stuff comes out. There's been so many thoughts, Clint, of a conspiracy from the Texans potentially being involved in that. And one of the major things we learned, timeline-wise, that's just not plausible.
Yeah. Look, I think it's one of the wildest things that's come about with this Deshaun Watson situation is that somehow the McNair family or somehow the Texans could possibly be behind it. I mean, I've never bought it, but the fact of the matter is, the reason we're talking about it is that it's real. I mean, there's no question about it that people in Houston believe that there's a possibility that the Texans are behind this because they were put out with Deshaun Watson wanting out and not being a team player and wanting to be traded and belling on them. And look, I mean, I think you can look at the article that dropped today from Sports Illustrated and you can read through it, and I think they make it pretty loud and clear that it wasn't just a Houston situation.
No. I
mean, they make it pretty loud and clear. In fact, they state that in some NFL circles there was a belief that the Texans could be involved in some way, shape, or form, or the McNairs could be involved in one way, shape, or form.
People wondered about this. This wasn't just a conspiracy that just lived at this point.
Right. And look, here's the deal. If you don't think it was real, I mean, if you're out there wondering what the hell we're talking about, here's Tony Busby, the attorney for the 22 plaintiffs, literally addressing whether this is Texan-related or Cal McNair-related.
And I need to dispel some silly rumors. Yes, I live on River Oaks Boulevard, and I live near the McNair family. I don't know the McNair family. I wouldn't recognize Cal or Hal or whatever his name is if I saw him on the street. This case has nothing to do with the Texans, has nothing to do with free agency, the timing. I don't know anything about that silliness, and I frankly don't care about it. Texans are not a team that I follow.
So clearly, whether you're a believer of it or you've ever thought it or not, there's individuals out there that believe it. That's Tony Busby talking about it, and the article that SI dropped today actually mentioned it. Now, the one thing the article did today was they dropped a timeline that explains Ashley Solis, the original plaintiff, number one, communicating with Tony Busby's office before the season was over this year. There's an email timeline. There's a paper trail, time-stamped paper trail, that those communications were going on well before the season was over, which Deshaun Watson didn't mention that he wanted out or wanted to be traded until after the season. So that timeline alone makes it pretty difficult for the Texans or the McNairs to have been involved in anything, which I don't know why they would from the get-go. That makes no sense to me.
Hasn't helped them.
But for the conspiracy theory folks out there, this timeline is going to be pretty hard to explain away if you still believe that there's any possibility that the Texans had anything to do with it.
Because that is far, far before Deshaun Watson expressed wanting out, right? And behind that conspiracy would have to be the thought of Deshaun Watson said he wanted out, and now this is the way the Texans are responding by trying to get him caught up with 22, 23 lawsuits, and they're behind it, making it happen. It just makes it doesn't make sense. Listen, the Texans have had their faults in handling situations with the team in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
This one is not it.
You know, the wild thing is that this SI article brings to light to me is that, I mean, they state it was a belief in several NFL circles. Like that's wild to me. That it, like, literally people can look at the situation in NFL circles, for whatever that's worth, and go, boy, the Texans could be behind this. And I only say that because the Texans don't win.
Yeah, I don't get how. I mean, you're lowering the value of Deshaun Watson, and this certainly wouldn't make him want to play for you. Like those are the two options. You get him on your team to play for you, or you're unable to trade him. This lowers the value of him if you come up with these things.
There's no positive
They haven't
spin.
been able to trade him.
There's
right?
no positive spin.
This was the perfect time to try to trade him. You had the Jets, you had the Dolphins, you had Jacksonville, you had all these teams with these multiple
San Francisco
picks that wanted him, that were going to give whatever, and you couldn't do it. You couldn't move. And you had to take Davis Mills in the third round as your quarterback. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But people are still going to roll with it. I still see it right now that people still believe that it is the accurate case. And it is not. It is not. So I think that's a big thing that has been disposed is, no, the Texans weren't involved in this. Jack Easterby wasn't involved in this. Kyle McNair wasn't involved in this. And we should just stop it. Clint Sterner and the show here with you on Sports Radio 610, Houston sports leader. But Houston does have a first-place baseball team. The Astros
Come on.
take over first place over the A's. They win the series. That's what they've been doing, just winning series. They win 8-4, blow them out. That lineup is leading the league in runs scored.
That's a lot of hits.
They're 11-3 in their last 14, and they are averaging 6.6 runs a game. This lineup is carrying this team. We all said it had to. This lineup is carrying this team, and I'm telling you, this is as scary a lineup that the Astros have had. And I know what that means, but this is as scary as a lineup that this Astros organization has had in the last decade, and that includes those George Springer-led lineups.
Yeah, that's the question, right, is how does this stack up against the 17-18 Astros? And ultimately, Robert Flores of MLB Network, friend of the show, he tweeted some interesting numbers. The Astros' top 5 hitters: Altuve's hitting .314, Brantley's hitting .307, Bregman's hitting .324, Alvarez is hitting .338, and Gurriel is hitting .333. The last time a team had as many as 5 players all qualified for the batting title, batting over 300 this late into the season, was when Houston did it in 2017. I think those numbers and that statement by Robert Flores, we can quit saying, well, do you think it stacks up? We can quit asking the question and start having the damn conversation. This lineup stacks up to 2017. Altuve's in the leadoff spot. Springer's gone, but now you have Alvarez, who's lighting it on fire. He's coming into his own. He was just he wasn't a part of the majority of the Springer lineups, but he was as of late. But he's hitting the ball better now and running better now than he was then. And Gurriel is straight on fire right now. So, yeah, I think there is a definitely a conversation to be had about this lineup, and does it have the potential to be as good as the 2017 Springer Astros lineups? Because you got Carlos Correa ain't in this conversation yet.
Yeah, I mean,
and you got Kyle Tucker.
Jordan and Yuli are more than making up for the loss of Springer. Like, just them two. Them two alone, the raising of their production is more than making up for Springer, because that's the big piece that's lost is George Springer is gone. But Jordan, Yuli, come on now. How about some concern? What about your guy Ryan Stanek, your Arkansas Razorback? I was listening, Seth and Sean, they did an emergency circle of trust and took his ass out of it. They took him out of it. His last 3 outings have been struggle season. And yesterday they forced Presley to have to pitch, but then, of course, the bats blew the game open,
yeah.
and he didn't have to get a 4-out save. But Ryan Stanek, what do we have? Roflo said the other day, there's 2 guys in the pen that he trusts, and that's Ryan Presley and Ryan Stanek. And I'll be damned. I wonder if Dusty, I know we talked about the circle of trust. Yeah. I wonder how Dusty is feeling now, if that's just his 8th inning guy.
Well, I tell you, if you watched the game yesterday, which we did, Dusty didn't have a whole lot of confidence when his ass walked out of that dugout and pulled Ryan Stanek off the mound.
No.
It didn't look like a real cordial exchange, and it did not that there wasn't anything wrong with it, but it didn't. It looked like there's some tension. It looks like there's some disappointment, and so I don't doubt in any way, shape, or form that there's some concern with Ryan Stanek. I don't know that he's completely out of Dusty's circle of trust as he may be. Was he out of Sean and Seth?
They did an emergency
for him.
Circle of trust.
So he was out,
and they took his ass out.
He
was
took him out?
in him.
Yeah. I don't know if Dusty's quite where Sean and Seth are yet.
I don't know if he can be, but
yeah, he can't afford to be.
Yeah, because I mean, as we talked about it, do you trust him less than Abreu? Do you trust him less than some of the other guys out there? But he was throwing. He was pitching as well as Presley was.
Right.
I mean, they were throwing. Looked like you found your void, and there is nothing better for a manager, especially an old school manager like Dusty, to know what I'm going to do in the 8th and the 9th. And he was in that space. I don't know if you're still there. I don't know if you just give Ryan Stanek the 8th now. I wonder. Let's say it happens tonight, or
with this staff, you got to be there.
You think so? He's still
maybe
still
Kenny Emanuel.
I just knew you were going there.
I mean, no, I'm just saying.
I don't know.
You can't be Paredes. It can't be Abreu. It can't be.
I would try Scrub. I feel like I got.
I don't know. It's hard to get away from 98 though, man. When that sucker can run it up 98, it's hard to get. Now maybe versus the Rangers, yeah, I may play a little bit.
Yeah, but it's just when he jumps in like he did yesterday, come in, base is clear, and his first 2 hitters he hits one and he walks one.
Yep.
And now you have to use Presley early, and like we said, obviously this is another way that the lineup picks you up.
Absolutely.
But they picked him up where Presley didn't have to be extended.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Dusty has that luxury right now, man. I don't know if he has the luxury to pull Stanek. I don't know if he has the luxury to go a different route. Maybe Kent Emanuel, maybe Scrub. I think he's limited in what he does.
Yeah, we'll see. That's probably the only real negative thing you come out of this series with is that which would happen with your 8th inning guy Ryan Stanek and some of the control issues from the bullpen. Something that this will be hard for Astro fans to hear. Clint Sterner and Ron the Show Hughley. It's funny though, man. I enjoy good humor and good thoughts and well thought out playing things. The LA Dodgers, they had Josh Reddick in town. He's playing with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he came up to the plate. And generally, road teams and road batters don't get walk-up music. But the LA Dodgers yesterday, they personally gave Josh Reddick walk-up music. This is what it sounded like last night.
I saw the sign or heard the sign.
Oh, jeez, Peter.
Peter, you got any garbage can songs?
Look, I could do without the commentary, but that's funny.
They didn't even play the song. They played it. Their organist played it.
Yes. That
makes it better to me.
That's funny.
That makes it better to me.
That's funny. That's really good.
I mean, like to me, the part that I respect, Clint, is how long did they sit up thinking about this one? This didn't just come to him at that
I
inning.
bet when he pulled it off, I bet he's telling his buddies about it at the bar the next night.
Or
immediately after the game.
But I'm just saying they had to have thought this one through. All right, we got Reddick in town. What's the best song we can play?
This is great.
Do the Astros go to L.A.? I mean, because if they got this planned for Josh Reddick, only God knows what they would have planned, what they would do if the Astros were actually at Dodger Stadium.
Damn, it's good. The best walk-up song.
So you didn't get mad at all. You immediately found
no. When I immediately and I like Josh Reddick. I'm not like you and dislike. I like Josh Reddick. I just thought it was. I thought it was great. Look, I don't mind a sense of humor if it's funny. I get shots taken at me all the time about fumbling against Tennessee, and I really all the years
I don't laugh at that.
They don't. But when they're really good. When they're really creative.
You've had some real good ones.
Oh, yeah. And I'll let them know about it on Twitter, too. Like, hey, that was really good. Hey, good, well done. But when they're just, like, desperate, like, real stretches to just bring it up, it's like, come on, man. That right there, Josh Reddick.
Well, that was well thought out.
Oh, well thought out. It was kind of Like, if you're not paying real close attention, you can't tell what song
subtle.
it is.
See, this wouldn't have done it for me as much.
Agreed.
If they come out and played the song like Tyler's playing.
Right.
But that organist.
That's great.
I mean, this was his night. He's been thinking about this since this damn game started. And I'm sure Josh was at the bottom of the lineup, so he had to wait a couple of innings to do it. What?
So
Come on,
the best walk-up song story. There's a guy in Baytown, played at the opposing school, never played. And on senior night, their coach always lets seniors start the game on their senior night.
Yeah, senior night.
Well, they start the game, and they're hitting pretty well in the first inning, so he comes around to where he gets to bat. Maybe the coach let him bat one time through the lineup or something. But anyway, everybody picked walk-up music. Well, he never picked any walk-up music. I guess it just slipped his mind. So the scorekeeper played All I Need Is a Miracle when he walked
I'm sure his parents and family felt great. Listen to that. Right, shook him up. And what did he do? Do you remember what his plate appearance was?
No, it was the other school. So I wasn't. That's
yeah.
a story the best story I've ever heard of walk-up. It wasn't my team. I would have it on video if it would be mine. That was the. I love like that kind of humor.
Creative thought.
It's creative.
No, I like it.
It's not just all in your face. Like you got to be like listening and be like, wait a minute, did y'all hear what I just heard? Like, it's not just in your face, blah. It's just
the announcers were
humor.
obviously, they weren't in on it because they were surprised.
Right. Well,
they went into the trash cans.
Bring up
and
the
stuff.
trash cans and all that.
Tyler
I mean,
mad.
it's, come on, man.
See, that's not clever at all. It's not creative. It's old. It's tired.
Did you see
It's a good touch,
did you see old Joe Kelly said that if an Astro fan throws a beer at him, he's going to throw it back?
That's fine.
Which one?
He's going to throw an empty cup at him?
Is that normal? Like, do people throw beers at baseball players in the field?
At places like L.A. and the New York Yankees games, yeah.
Oh, in classless places?
This year, Yankees fans were throwing crap out on the field.
That's not a normal. But they throw beers at players?
Wouldn't put it past a Yankee fan.
Thank you. That's getting up and throwing beers at players. No,
I would not put it
that is
past
not
a Yankee
happening on a
fan.
regular basis.
It's not going to happen in Houston because we're classy. I just can't wait for Los to throw some hands Joe Kelly's way. That's what I'm waiting on. Joe Kelly and the Rat King of Oakland, Mike Fiers, those two dudes.
Joe Kelly take. It's Joe Kelly take.
Yeah, I'm out. I can't wait till Joe Kelly gets here. You think he pitches? Or is he pulling Mike Fiers?
I don't think the Dodgers are Mike Fiers.
NFL Hall of Famer John McClain joins us next. A Sports Illustrated article has dropped, and it's going to clear a few things up, not only on the Deshaun Watson front, but involving the Houston Texans. No one better than NFL Hall of Famer John McClain to help us get to the bottom of it. That's next.
I'm John Meacham. Welcome to Fate of Fact, Season 1. This series is about how and why fact became a casualty of war in the United States. Please listen and follow Fate of Fact, a presentation of Shining City Audio, a John Meacham and C13 original studio. Available now for free on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.